Donald Trump is now facing one of the most disturbing and politically dangerous controversies ever attached on a sitting American president. So, let me be precise from the beginning so you can understand very clear. Donald Trump has not been criminally charged in connection with Jeffrey Epstein, and appearing in Epstein's related documents does not automatically prove criminal wrongdoing. But that does not make this story politically harmless. So, Trump's name appeared repeatedly across the Epstein-related material released by the Justice Department. Some records reflect their documented social relationships. Other files contain allegations and tips involving Trump, many of which remain uncorroborated, disputed, or described by federal officials as not credible. So the Justice Department itself has acknowledged that its enormous release included references to Trump while insisting that some accusations were absolutely false or probably sensationalization. Now, this is now controversy has moved beyond the old photographs, social events, flight records, and rumors. It has become a direct argument over whether Donald Trump's own Justice Department is providing the full truth or not. Now, New Mexico's Attorney General Raul Torres responded criminal investigation connected to Jeffrey Epstein's former Zorro Ranch near the Santa Fe. That property has long been associated with allegations that women and underage girls were abused and exploited there. New Mexico's officials say they need unredacted federal records identifying survivors, witnesses, and possible conspirators in order to investigate properly. But according to Torres, the Justice Department has delayed providing the necessary material for months and months. He is openly accusing the federal government of impeding the investigation. So that is the source of the newest political explosion. The Trump administration denies that it is obstructing the case. The Justice Department says it responded to New Mexico supporters' investigation and is willing to help prosecute federal crime if new evidence is discovered. But New Mexico's Attorney General says that without the unredacted files, his investigators cannot properly identify victims, witnesses, or probably other people who may not be relevant to the information. So now the United States has an extraordinary situation. A state attorney general is publicly accusing the Justice Department operating under Donald Trump of withholding material needed for an Epstein-related criminal investigation. Now, at the same time, Trump's own name appears repeatedly in the broader body of Epstein documents. Now, that does not prove that Donald Trump ordered anything to be hidden. No, but politically, it creates an enormous conflict of interest appearance, 100%. So the public is being asked to trust a Justice Department controlled by Trump's administration to determine what should be released about a case in which Trump's own past association with Epstein is part of the public record. So that is why this story is so damaging. Trump and Epstein were socially acquainted during the 1990s and early 2000s. Trump has acknowledged knowing him while also saying that the relationship eventually ended and that Epstein was no longer welcome at Mar-a-Lago. So the existence of social relationship is documented. What that relationship means is where political arguments, allegations, and speculation begins totally. And this is so important. Donald Trump is not literally the first American president whose name or social circle has appeared in the Epstein-related material. Now, former president, if you take Bill Clinton, has also appeared in publicly released records and photographs. He has denied knowledge of Epstein's crimes, so claiming Trump is the first president ever connected to Epstein would be inaccurate. But Trump may be facing something historically absolutely different. He is dealing with this controversy while serving as a president, while his own administration controls the Justice Department. While records are still being released and while another government authority is accusing that department of impending an active investigation. So that combination is politically very explosive. So this is where the question of Trump's concern becomes so unavoidable. So we cannot scientifically prove that Donald Trump feels privately. Now, but we can examine why this story presents a serious threat to his presidency and his image on the world stage. First, Trump built a large part of his political identity around attacking corruption and promising to expose powerful institutions, right? But for many years, many of his supporters believed that the full Epstein files would reveal a hidden network of influential people protected by the government. Now, Donald Trump controls the government totally. Now, that means every delay, every redaction, every missing document, every dispute over disclosure lands directly on his administration. He cannot simply blame some distant political establishment anymore. He is the president of the United States. His appointees control the Justice Department, and his administration decides how it responds to subpoenas. Now, documents requests, lawsuit, and public pressure also. But on the other hand, the Justice Department says it released approximately 3.5 million pages and more than 2,000 videos and around 180,000 images under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. So that is an enormous disclosure. But the scale of the release has not ended the controversy because the question remains over redaction, missing materials, withheld interview summaries, and whether every responsive record was properly disclosed or not. So one particularly serious issue involved FBI interviews summaries connected to an uncorroborated allegation against Donald Trump and Epstein. Now, reporting indicated that several interviews records were missing from public production, leading to Justice Department to review further material had been wrongly withheld. The allegations themselves have not been corroborated, and federal officials have said they did not find credible information warranting further investigation. But politically, the disappearance or omission of a record involving the sitting president creates exactly the kind of suspicion, and the administration should want to eliminate that. So that is the exact crisis right here. Even when an allegation is unverified, withholding or probably accidentally omitting the related document can look worse than the releasing it with the proper context. People begin asking whether the government is protecting the president. Now, then every denial is treated as a suspicious denial. Now, every redaction becomes evidence in somebody's mind. It's natural. Every delay becomes another viral video. Every attempt to change the subject becomes interpreted as a distraction. There has been academic research examining whether Donald Trump's public messaging shifting during the periods of intense Epstein coverage. So that research found an association between the highlighted scandal coverage and changes in his truth social communication pattern. Now, although the author clearly stated that the analysis did not establish direct causation. Now, in other words, it cannot prove Trump deliberately created distraction, but it helps explain why the diversion argument has become the part of his public debate. The danger to Trump is therefore not limited to whether prosecutors establish a criminal case. The immediate danger is reputational. Trump has spent decades presenting himself as a powerful, independent, and impossible to control, as we all know that. Now, the Epstein story places him inside a narrative involving elite accesses, secret records, wealthy social circles, alleged abuses, government secrecy, and institutional protection. Even without a criminal charge, that imagery is politically very toxic. Because Trump's names appear in the file, he cannot dismiss the entire controversy irrelevant. So he can agree with that specific allegation as false. Now, he can point out that being named is not the proof. He can emphasize that his administration released millions of pages. All of those arguments may be probably legitimate. Now, but he cannot erase the documented social association at all. He cannot stop the public from asking why records involving him were allegedly missing, why New Mexico says it cannot obtain unredacted files, and why full story remains so difficult to reconstruct. So this also creates a serious problem with Trump's own political base. So many of the people demanding the Epstein files are not Democrats. They are not Democrats at all. They are not traditional Trump opponents. Some are among his strongest supporters, totally his strongest supporters. That's weird. They spend years expecting a complete exposure of Trump's network. If they conclude that Trump's administration is delaying, redacting, or controlling the information, the issue can become more dangerous than an ordinary partisan attack. So it becomes a question of absolute betrayal. That is why the New Mexico investigation matters so much in this case. So this is no longer only a journalist examining probably old photographs. No. It is no longer only social media users examine flight logs. A state attorney general says his official is attempting to investigate alleged criminal activity at Epstein's former ranch, that the federal government is not giving investigators the unredacted material they actually need. Now, the Justice Department disputes the accusations absolutely, but the accusations now exist publicly, and it directly involves the administration of a president whose name appears throughout the broader Epstein records. Now, that is the factual political crisis, what's really happening here. Not that Donald Trump has already been proven guilty. He has not. Not that every allegation in the file is true. Many are unverified. Some have been rejected as not credible. The crisis is that the president's personal history, his administration's control over the files, missing or disputed records, and active state investigation have all collided at the same moment. And The collision can damage his presidency even without a criminal prosecution, because presidencies do not survive only on courtroom standards. They survive on public trust. That's the biggest base there. So right now, millions of people do not trust that they have received a full Epstein story until the Justice Department provides clear answers about what was withheld, what was redacted, what was omitted, and what was turned in. Probably over the New Mexico, this controversy will become probably more and more growing. Donald Trump may insist that there is nothing to hide. That's what he will insist. But politically, the burden is now on his administration to prove it through transparency. Because the longer the file remains disputed, the more the public will probably believe that the most important part of the story is being kept behind the closed doors. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think? What's exactly happening? I want to know your opinion in the comments. Thank you. See you in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe and stay up to date. Turn on your notifications so I will post some important things. Thank you. See you in the next video.